I'm back. The last lap, I hope. Alright, so I have hemmed this sleeve first, and that was simply a matter of turning up a 1/4 inch and then another inch and stitching right along the edge of the hem. So I have a neat hem on this sleeve here. This is the inside, so on the right side there should be an even straight line around. Okay, so that's the hem. Now what I've done next is pin the underarm seam. So this is the sleeve cap at the top here to the right. From the underarm down, I have pinned all the way to the hem. One thing I've done really is I tend to pin in the seam line, and the reason for this is that I'm able to fit. I'm able to, you know, open up the piece, the sleeve piece, and I could, you know, easily stick my arm in the full length and test and fit and see whether the seam is fitted right and doesn't need any adjustment. So pinning in the seam line works for me, but I know there are some sewers who pin crossways. You stick the pin vertically across like that. But because I know I'm gonna be fitting to myself each time, and I'm plus size, so I have to do a lot of fitting and adjustments as I go along. That's how I operate. It works good for me to just pin in the seam, and that's what I've done. Tested it, and I'm about to stitch this underarm seam. When I'm done with the seam, I would just simply lift up the sleeve just like that from the top, and this is what is called the dropping in of the sleeve. So it will be dropped into the armhole, and I'll stitch all around from the cap all around, and that should attach the sleeve now to the shirt, and I'll be good to go. So those are my next steps. So I have the shirt turned out to the wrong side, and the armhole is here. I'm going to be turning the sleeve to the right side and drop it into the armhole here. By turning the sleeve to the right side, it means that both right sides will be touching, because the inside on the right and the sleeve will be on the right, and then I'll be stitching around the arm hole, and when we turn it out, both will be properly attached to the right side. I have to be also careful which sleeve piece you pick up. So this is the armhole. This is to the back. To the right is to the back of the shirt. This side is the front of the shirt. So it means that the sleeve piece that I turn to the right side has to match the back properly. The back side should go here and the front side here. Okay, so for example, let me pick up a sleeve piece that I've turned to the right side here. Okay, this one is turned to the right side. Okay, so I have to look for my notches to see if I have the back over here and the front over this side. The notches are double notches for the back. So here you have two little snips. Can you see them? There are two snips there. The double notch mark is for the back. So right away I know that this one that I've turned to the right side is the wrong piece, because the back is here and the front is on this side. So I know now that it's the other sleeve piece that I need to drop in to the armhole. So I've grabbed the other armhole piece and turned it to the right, and so I'm looking to get the back on this side again and the front on this side. So I'm making sure that the notch on this side is not double. Okay, here it is. It's a single notch, so this is definitely the right piece. Front here and back to drop in. So I'm going to drop it in and start pinning from the underarm seam. I'm going to match this up with the side seam and start pinning all around. Okay, so always check that you have the right sleeve piece to make sure you stitch the right one and don't have to unpick it. Okay, so I'm removing the flat arm piece from my machine. Okay, I'll be using this slim edge. It's easy to roll the sleeve around and stitch the armhole. So remove this part of your machine in order to easily stitch the sleeve. And I've pinned all around now the armhole. This step sometimes you have to use quite a lot of pins to get it right. Here are the loose threads, you remember from doing the E-stitch on the sleeve. So there were loose threads on both ends, so I had to tug on that to ease in. I have quite a bit of ease here to ease in the cap along the shoulder edge. When you're stitching, which is why it's good to have this arm here, you have to make sure that it's flat, that you eliminate the puckers from the easing in. So you would put that around, right, and ensure that when you stitch along the seam line, you're not getting any puckers and pleats. You're on the flat section so that it is even and flat all around. So I'll be pinning the next sleeve next, and then do the stitching for both of them. Okay, and then we'll see how the sleeves turn out at the end of that step. So the sleeves are stitched. So here is what the stitching looks like from the inside. This is under the arm. There's a first stitch running up the sleeve there, and then there's a second stitch about 1/8 of an inch, which is done to reinforce the sleeve, because you know you have a lot of movement with the sleeve, so you don't want a hole appearing in your sleeve. So a second stitch is usually done for reinforcement. So that's what the inside looks like. I'll show you the outside next. So here's what the sleeve looks like from the shoulder down to the underarm. This is a particularly long sleeve, 3/4 length, and just underneath the sleeve you'll find a tab, the sleeve tab, which is gonna hook up to a button and give a rolled up effect with the sleeve, so it wouldn't be hanging too long. So that's it. That's how you insert the sleeve. And now we're moving on to do bands for ladies. The buttonhole is done on the right hand side, so I'm going to be marking the buttonholes and the placement, and then I have to sew on the buttons. I'm going to sew on the buttons by hand. Okay, so these are going to be, that's my next step, the buttonhole on the band, the buttons on the left side. There's a button here for the sleeve tabs, but there are two more there, and then remember there is one at the hem of the shirt. So we're almost finished. So I have marked buttonholes. If you look, there'll be some faint tailor's chalk mark, usually as like a capital I. So I marked the buttonholes and then stitched. So that's the first one at the top, and there are 6 in all. I've spaced them about 2.5 inches apart, so all 6 buttonholes are in now. So it's just to sew the buttons. I had shown you earlier in an earlier episode how to do the buttonholes. Alright, so the shirt is finished. It's just the buttons left to sew on, and then I'll reveal what the finished garment looks like.